J.K. Rowling and Emma Watson are arguing yet again. Rowling dismisses Watson as ignorant over trans rights row. And obviously, Emma Watson kind of fading and kind of becoming a little bit irrelevant. She's tried her best to hold on, young pretty girl in Hollywood. Maybe she didn't do the right things to the right circumcised penis. But she's kind of fading out. So basically, in order to stay in Hollywood or stay relevant in show business, you need to change your opinions accordingly. Until you get to the point where you're like that big, where you can actually have your own actual opinions, like Ricky Gervais or like Chris Pratt or someone like that. You basically need to get like big enough where you can get away with saying what you actually believe. Emma Watson, unfortunately, is not big enough to get away with it. So obviously they have to toe the line to make sure they stay in show business. The exact same things happen with people like Frankie Boyle, Jim Jeffries, like there's loads of other people as well. J.K. Rowling has sent a stinging response to Emma Watson after the Harry Potter actress recently spoke about their relationship and a public disagreement over the issue of gender identity. Last week, Watson said she still loves Rowling and refuses to cancel her out despite their differences on the subject. Well, it's a case of I've got lots of friends where I disagree with them on a lot of things. I don't want to cancel them or fall out with them. We believe different things. Whoa, better burn all those bridges. We disagree on stuff. Whoa. But anyway, for example, I'm the only libertarian in the office. Oh, better fire everyone. Oh my god. But on Monday, the author responded by saying her own feelings towards her former friend had soured after she said Watson's publicly poured petrol on the flames of the debate at the peak of threats against her. Rowling wrote on X, like other people who've never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. That's one thing is, I don't want to listen to a single celebrity tell me about anything. They don't know. One I might listen to is Chris Pratt, because before he got his part on Parks and Rec, he was living in his car. A lot of people don't know that. Like, before he got his part in Parks and Rec, he was actually living in his car. Sylvester Stallone was broke, like, before he got famous. And I forget the name of the actor, who played Joey Tribbiani in Friends. He actually had to do a porno right before he did Friends. And the very first thing he did with his first paycheck from Friends was buy a hot meal. So see people like that who've actually known struggle, like before they got famous, them I might listen to. Right, but then see when you get all these rich Hollywood actors that had really, really rich parents and grew up going to inherit a company and they wanted to become an actor and mummy and daddy bankrolled all their acting lessons, paid for their apartment in LA, which is, a pretty bloody penny in LA prices. But those people, I'm not interested in anything you've got to say. Oh, the poor people this and the poor people that. Man, I'm so ashamed of my own upbringing, but God, was it good. Like that, like, shut up. Shut up, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in hearing anything that you've got to say. See, when it comes to what life is really like, I'm going to listen to Bill the Bricky, like, over any Hollywood actor. Right, I'm going to listen to the guy that's actually struggling every day to pay his bills about what the world's actually like. I'm going to listen to him. I'm not going to listen to some fucking prick that sits there drinking Cristal all day. Right, you can shut up. Sitting there in like your fourth holiday home or some shit like that. Go fuck yourself. Watson 35 played. She's 35 now. I'm only 2 years older than Emma Watson. Goddamn. Played Hermione Granger in the 8 films based on Rowling's books between 2001 and 2011. Why do I still think of her as a child? I still like, because whenever people say to me, "Oh, do you think Emma Watson's hot?" I'm like, I'm not commenting on that. But she's actually only 2 years younger than me. Time flies and time gets weird. Anyway, she and Daniel Radcliffe are among the stars who distanced themselves from Rowling when the author sparked a row by speaking out against trans activism, which Rowling said had eroded the concept of biological sex. The writer was accused of being transphobic, which she denied, saying she was worried about the effect on women in single-sex spaces. In an interview last week, Watson said, "It is my deepest wish that I hope people who don't agree with my opinion will love me, and I hope I can keep loving people who I don't necessarily share the same opinion with." Turning point. In her new post on Monday, Rowling wrote, I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for what opinions I should hold these days. She said it had been, however, hard to shake a certain protectiveness after knowing someone since they were 10. Until quite recently, I hadn't managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be gently coaxed through their dialogue in a big scary film studio. The author said the turning point in her feelings came in 2022 when Watson appeared to aim a subtle dig at Rowling on stage at the BAFTA Awards. Host Rebel Wilson introduced Watson by saying she's proud to call herself a feminist, but we all know she's a witch. Watson responded that she was here for all of the witches. Oh, lot of fucking shit. Anyway, Rowling said the moment had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself when Watson sent a note despite having her phone number. The note had a single line saying, I'm so sorry for what you're going through, Rowling said. This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably, and I was constantly worried for my family's safety, the author said. Emma had just publicly poured more petrol on the flames, yet thought a one-line expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. And you'll notice how Emma did it in private instead of saying it publicly. There's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people in, like, especially British showbiz who, like, look over both their shoulders before talking to me saying I really respect and appreciate what you do, but they're not big enough to come out and actually show any support. Right, I've seen some of them do it to fucking Tommy Robinson and all that as well. But the problem is, as soon as they voice any kind of support, you know, that's their career over. It's done. It's over. They'll get kicked out. Because it used to be a case of, like, back in the day, whenever your career was over on British TV or British films or anything like that, it was whenever the producer decided that the public was done with you. Right? It's not when the public decided they were done with you, it's when the producer decided that the public was done with you. Now, these days, it's still that, but it's also you have to hold the right opinions. Everyone's like, what? Right-wing comedians are on TV all the time, and then they'll cite some appearance by Jeff Norcott in, like, 2013. Or something like that, whereas if you go on every single panel show, it's just leftists. It's just snobby elite leftists. Every single one of them. They might dress homeless, but they're not. Right? They're making bank, right? And that's all you get on panel shows now, which is why I just don't fucking watch TV. I've not watched TV for a very, very long time. Rowling went on to suggest that Watson was never likely to need to use the types of single-sex spaces she had campaigned against trans people having access to, such as changing rooms and public toilets. I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous, she added. That's quite a fucking burn. I therefore understand from my own life experience that the trashing of women's rights in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated means to women and girls without her privileges. The writer added that Watson's recent declaration of love marked a change of tack I suspected she's adopted because she's noticed full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was. There's been a shift. There has been a shift in regards to the trans stuff. Because I think everybody realised that got entertained when it should not have been. And things got far too silly far too quickly. Right, things got fucking ridiculous. And whether you like it or not, you know, again, hashtag not all, but there are a lot of people who aren't actually trans, they're just sexual predators. They're doing it as a fetish and they're just sexual predators, right? Again, hashtag not all. But still, ladies, you need to clean house. You need to clean house and you need to get rid of all the perverts, the paedophiles, the psychopaths, and the fucking nutcases. Right? If you want your movement to be taken seriously, you need to get rid of them. You need to get rid of them completely. Stop defending them. Because if we see you defending someone that's literally calling for the deaths of people that misgender, that's going to make loads of people not like you. Right? So, it's time. Do a little bit of house cleaning. Rowling concluded, adults can't expect to cozy up to an activist movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination, then assert their right to the former friend's love, as though the friend was in fact their mother. Emma is rightly free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public. But I have the same right and I finally decided to exercise it. BBC News has approached Watson's representatives for comment. I can love her, I can know she loved me. Watson was one of several stars of the Potter films who spoke out against Rowling views in 2020, posting on social media at the time, "Trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told that they aren't who they say they are." In other words, everybody's right to freedom of speech can just go fuck off. Because see, one thing that a lot of people seem to make a mistake of is you don't have a right to not be offended. You don't have a right to not have things said to you. Right, see if it's a case of like if it was a case of you're allowed to jail people because they said something that like pissed you off, then I could get so many people chucked in prison. I could get so many people chucked in prison right now if that was the case. So all of y'all should be fucking glad. That's not the case. I wouldn't do it. But still, like you don't have a right to not have people say things to you. People are going to ask questions, people are going to make fun, people are going to do this, people are going to do that. I had a death threat just this morning. People say things, right? Tough shit. Welcome to reality. Welcome to the real world, right? Instead, what I do is I just carry on doing whatever I was doing, which was painting Warhammer and lifting weights. So I was doing. I've got a deadlift set right in the office there. It's fucking great. I feel very, very sorry for my neighbours down below me, but fucking tough shit. I need gains. Then last week's interview, Watson said her previous relationship with Rowling meant she was still able to treasure Jo. The actress also praised Rowling for the kindness and words of encouragement she gave when she was growing up and for the opportunity to play a character like Hermione. "There's just no world in which I could ever cancel her out or cancel that out for anything," Watson said. "It has to remain true. It is true. I just don't know what else to do other than hold these two seemingly incompatible things together at the same time and just hope maybe they will one day resolve or co-join themselves." Actually, that's pretty much the case for all of modern feminism. So, "I want a traditional man, but I refuse to be traditional in any way whatsoever. I will hold these two incompatible things and then wonder why I'm a cat lady at 40. But anyway, and maybe accept that they never will, but they can both still be true." But anyway, yeah. This is the same thing happened with like Graham Linehan and a lot of the people that he used to work with, one of whom I actually bumped into recently. I'm not going to say who it was, but that was an awkward encounter. but still, a lot of the people that he used to work with are actually starting to come out and go, they're like looking at the writing on the wall and they're kind of going, "Oh shit. Yeah, this stuff maybe got taken a little bit too far. There's a lot of lawsuits coming in from people that had their tits and dick chopped off, and basically all of them are saying is, I was 13, why the fuck did you let me do that?" and everything. And yeah, basically, see all this type of shit is essentially the sterilization and experimenting of surgery on children, especially autistic children. Yeah, see, this entire trans thing, I'm going to give it maybe 15, 20 years, but it's going to be on BBC Panorama.